Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Planning Commission meeting. As a courtesy, members of the public may participate remotely in this meeting. Please refer to the meeting agenda for information about how to provide public comments either in person here in the room or via Zoom teleconference. Any person may address the commission on any item listed on this agenda. Persons wishing to speak on items listed on the agenda will be heard when called by staff. You're welcome to speak for up to 3 minutes. Public comments from remote participants on Zoom will be audio only. This means members of the public wishing to address the commission will be allowed to speak live. However, their videos will not be shown and screen sharing will not be an option. Finally, since the city cannot guarantee the public access to teleconferencing technology, that public access to teleconferencing technology will be uninterrupted. And the option of the public to participate remotely is only a courtesy. If technical difficulties arise for participants using teleconferencing Zoom option, the meeting will continue unless required otherwise by the Brown Act. We appreciate your patience while we get used to the new audiovisual system that enables us to offer remote participation. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please. I know we have Commissioner Farsan, Commissioner Heising, and Commissioner Sturm have all said they will not be present, so I'm going to go through the rest. Commissioner McCormick.
Present.
Commissioner Mason.
Present.
Vice Chair Radnich.
Present.
Chair Labange present. Okay, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
So move.
Okay.
Second.
And what was the phrase? So I don't have to do the roll call again. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0. Public comments. Do we have any public comments for items not on tonight's agenda?
We do not.
All righty. Consent calendar. Hold on, let me see. We have, can I get a motion to adopt the consent calendar, recognizing the 3 meeting minutes that are posted?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Continued public hearing. We will now pick up on the safety element. So I'll turn that over to staff, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. It's just me tonight. Eli Crespi, our consultant from PlaceWorks. We did not think he was necessary. Our understanding from the Planning Commission at the last meeting is that it was generally ready to review and recommend approval of the plan of the safety element, with the exception of a request for new language around cybersecurity. That language has been added, as I'll go through in my report, but we thought that this would be a fairly straightforward meeting. So I will start with a few slides that you'll recognize and have seen before, and then I'll go straight into the changes that we've made. As you know, the safety element is a mandatory part of the general plan. It helps protect against natural hazards and other public safety concerns. New state law requires that it be updated every 8 years along with the housing element. Our current safety element was adopted in 2002 with revisions in 2009. Since that time, changes to state law have required several new components to the safety element. These include more details and policies related to floods and fire, the identification of climate change vulnerabilities and policies related, and the identification of evacuation routes and constraints. Other changes since that last safety element include updates to mapping and technical background, the expanded policies and programs section, and the integration of the Contra Costa Local Hazards Mitigation Plan, as well as other planning efforts. Looking now at what's happened so far, the Planning Commission first reviewed the safety element on May 15th. At that time, there was a request to clarify the role of law enforcement in responding to emergencies and how the city coordinates with external agencies. In June, the Board of Forestry reviewed the safety element and suggested minor changes, but did not make a formal recommendation, which it does not do. The Planning Commission reviewed the safety element for a second time on July 17th and found the previous changes to be satisfactory, and also requested additional language around cybersecurity and attacks. So we'll look at those changes now. The changes themselves are too lengthy to include in this presentation, so I will direct you to the location of the changes. The first two in the safety element include a new subsection 2.1.3 on cyber attacks at page 6-12, and new policies in the goals, policies, and programs section under policies S-121 through S-124 on pages 6-46 through 47. In the background report, the new information included a whole entire page on page 15. This is a new subsection 2.1.5, cyber attacks. And the addendum to the housing element EIR was updated only in the sense that the new policies were included as they are listed in the table. The new language in the background report and the safety element describes the potential impacts of cyber attack, both generally and when combined with an emergency event. As before, an addendum is attached to your staff report. The safety element is subject to review under CEQA. And so this addendum is to the housing element certified environmental impact report. It finds that the safety element does not create any significant impacts, new or substantial, and there's no increase in the severity of previously identified significant impacts. Next steps would be, first, the City Council held its first review of this safety element on Monday, July 24th, 2 weeks ago. If the Planning Commission recommends adoption, staff will make the changes discussed in the staff report and bring it to City Council for formal adoption on August 28th. And as a reminder, the safety element does not need to be adopted by a specific date. With that, staff makes the recommendation that the Planning Commission vote to forward the addendum to the housing element, or excuse me, the addendum to the housing element certified EIR and the draft safety element to the City Council with a recommendation of approval. That concludes my staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any clarifying questions for staff? Okay, I just have one. Does just on the text, I just noticed this, I didn't notice it before, on the table of contents, it didn't, I might be missing it, but it doesn't look like 2.15 is showing up, and I don't think 2.14 is either. It could just be just a clerical fix, but
Okay.
that's, I will just note that.
Thank you.
So if there are no others, do we want to discuss? Anyone have any feedback?
I
Oh, yeah, sorry, public comment.
yes.
Can we see if there's any public comment on this, please? If there's anyone in the public who wants to ask anything, make any statements? Anyone online? No?
No.
It's clear. All right, okay. Sorry, Commissioner McCormick.
Yeah, I read the insert elements and they look great. I think they're in line and the same level and consistent with the rest of the report. And I think it's great. It's great that they're part of the document and the associated policies and everything like that. So that definitely it was a good add. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I feel the same. I'm glad you caught it last time. I'm glad it's in there. If we can have a motion and as a reminder, and maybe if you wouldn't mind putting up there on the recommended, but we are recommended to vote to forward the amended to the housing element certified ER and safety draft element to the City Council with recommendation of approval. So if I can have an amendment, proposed amendment or motion, excuse me, you can go from there.
I make a motion that we vote to forward the addendum to the housing element certified ER and draft safety element to the City Council with recommendation of approval.
A second?
Second.
Okay, and by vote, how do we vote? Sorry, what is it called again? All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 0. Okay, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right. I didn't walk enough today. My brain's not working. Sorry. All right. So that is for our continued. Now we have new public hearing. If staff, if you want to go ahead with, we have the Verizon VCF 05-20 Verizon applicant for the third or fourth time. All good.
It's being heard tonight as a new application for a major wireless facility.
There, so it's important through the trees.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. This is my first planning commission presentation. This technology is a little bit different than I'm used to. I'm here to present on wireless communications facility application 5-23 for Verizon. The project site is located at the top of a small hill next to an existing EB mud water tank off Gable Lane, which is a private road in the Release Valley area. There's an existing wireless communications tower, which will be removed, and a new monopole erected just south of the existing tower footprint, which will be the same height as the existing tower, totaling at 66 feet, 6 inches, including the antennas. The project will address coverage issues in Release Valley for Verizon customers. At left, you'll see the existing wireless coverage from all facilities in Lafayette. And at right is the coverage standalone from the new facility. The target area, which I've highlighted roughly within the encircled area, shows increased service for wireless users in their homes and cars where coverage was previously deficient, as shown in the image to the left. The applicant submitted a sites analysis for each location identified on this map. Each site was eliminated from their consideration due to either interference with existing wireless signals, limited ability to reach the target area due to topography, or inability to efficiently produce the necessary signal. The ground-mounted equipment cabinets and generator will be shielded from view by the proposed wall, highlighted in tan. This was a condition of approval when this application was previously heard by the Planning Commission to both shield from view and dampen noise. So this will lessen the impact to neighboring residential properties. In preparing this presentation after publication of the staff report, staff did come to the realization that the photo simulations submitted are based on previous plans, which showed a slightly different location of the monopole to the east of the existing. If the proposed pole is viewed in the correct location, as I've estimated, the screening is equal to or greater than what is shown in the following photo simulations. Updating the location of the new monopole in these photo simulations will lessen the overall visual impact of the project. So staff recommend adding a condition of approval to submit updated photo simulations with the construction drawings package for final review and approval by staff. Looking south from further up Release Valley Road, the existing tower is visible near the middle of the image. The proposed monopole will be partially shielded by the tree just to the right of the existing tower to be removed. And when viewed from the west along Shangri-La Road, the antennas will be shielded by vegetation to the right of the existing tower. This more accurate location of the proposed monopole more greatly preserves views of Mount Diablo when viewed from the west. There were no public comments received prior to this hearing, and there were none included in the staff report as well. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission find the project exempt from CEQA and adopt PC Resolution 2023-8, approving the project subject to the conditions attached to the staff report, as well as the added condition to provide updated photo simulations for final review and approval by staff. And that concludes my presentation for tonight. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any clarifying questions? Vice Chair Radnich?
Thank you for your presentation. The estimated location by staff, was that location shared with the applicant? And did the applicant agree that that is a more correct representation of the location?
We did go over the updated location. We discussed ahead of time that I had noted this and would be bringing it to you tonight. So.
Okay, and okay. I'll ask the applicant. what
Okay.
that Also, thank you.
I just And maybe I'll ask the applicant, I just wanted, I'm assuming, do the plans we have show the old location that we saw last time, just so I can, in my mind, see it? I'm trying to see it. And I can ask the applicant if that's a better,
I do have those available and I could make them,
if you
very
can pull them
quickly
up,
show.
maybe just to point it out, because we have seen this twice, but it's been a little while. But with that, if there are no other clarifying questions, we can see if are there any public comments? Oh, shoot. Do we need to see the presentation from the applicant?
I believe he has prepared a presentation.
Would you like to present? Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
There's a button on the microphone to press.
My name's Norman Lopayton. I'm with Ridge Communications and I'm here representing Verizon. I want to apologize, to be honest with you, that this is the third time that this commission has reviewed this project, and for various reasons, which fall on both parties, both Verizon and East Bay Mud. An agreement has been reached and has been in place for almost 7 years, but there were minor things that they were going, well, they weren't very minor in the beginning, but now they've become minor and all has been agreed to. So I would like to say that I think the third time is the charm. And so I appreciate, this public hearing and this opportunity to get this approved again, hopefully. And I did want to acknowledge that I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of Verizon regarding the application before you this evening. First, I would like to thank and commend your planning staff, and in particular, Ms. Anna Toll, for her work on this matter. The staff report prepared for you this evening is one of the most thorough and thoughtful reports I've ever seen. In fact, I thought I was dealing with an AI. It was so perfect. And then when we discovered the location difference within the poll, I realized she was in fact human, and that a mistake is made, and the mistake is actually ours, but it wasn't caught until today. I want to answer your question, and we are agreeing to that condition of approval, and we'll provide another photo simulation that shows it in the proper location, as well as I do agree with Anna's description, which is that it will actually show more cover for the existing location. Excuse me. The proposed location will actually have more cover than it does presently in the current photo simulation. I'm not going to take up a lot of time. I wanted this application by Verizon before you tonight is requesting approval for a major unmanned wireless communication facility permit, a hillside development permit, and an exception to the development standards to allow encroachment within the 50 feet required building setback for the installation of a new communication facility. And I want to point out that there are obviously 4 setbacks in regard here, 3 of which we exceed by over 100 feet than what's required. And in the other one, we are 12 feet less than what the requirement is. And I want to point out that the previous iteration that was approved by you in 2020 was actually 8 feet not in compliance. So this is a small adjustment. This is where the adjustment of the pole comes in. It's all because of the extra cabinets that have been added to it. So we had to shift a little bit of the of where the pole goes. And that's why it was not reflected in that plan. And I apologize for that. That's as much my mistake as anyone else. I also wanted to point out that this project has been thoroughly vetted by you numerous times in 2013, 2020, and now again. It meets all the criteria required by the general plan, municipal goals and guidelines for major wireless communication facilities, in that a major gap has been proved in coverage, has been proved. And because of that, your ordinance or guidelines encourage Verizon or these cellular companies to be able to get that gap and close it. One of the things I do want to point out that I think is important is that the coverage that you saw in that coverage map, which shows that more households within their houses will be able to receive it and more cars will be able to receive it as they're driving. But equally as important to that, this is also called what's called a capacity facility. And a capacity facility says that there are other towers within Lafayette and within the immediate area. Those towers are proposed today to be at 90 and 95% capacity. So within the next 3 years to 5 years, they will be outside of their capacity as to what they're designed for. This proposed unit will narrow that and will allow more coverage because it takes the pressure off of the other towers that are around. So that's very important. And why is that important? It's important in the most feared thing that we have in the world we live in with fires. And I saw what you were doing about, what you were just talking about before we came on, with fires, with the earthquakes, with all kinds of the new world we live in. Unfortunately, the first responders have to be able to utilize their communications and be able to be able to talk to whomever they need to within the area. This capacity will ease the drain that's on the other facilities and will allow that capacity to be generated for your first responders, and they will have seamless communication during an emergency. It's exceptionally important. Obviously, we've confirmed that the facility is necessary to close a significant gap in coverage, and there is no less intrusive means to close the gap. So that's part of the requirements that you have. Verizon respectfully requests that Planning Commission approve Resolution 2023-08 as presented this evening. Verizon accepts all the conditions of approval as contained in the resolution and the new one that's just been offered by Anna, which is that I can get a photo simulation redone with the correct location within 5 days. Your requirement is this does not become final until 14 days after your approval. I'm hoping that you give us that approval. So before the action becomes final, your staff will be able to review and make sure that what was represented here today is actually true. Either communicate that to you orally or whatever, or you trust your staff to do that. And of course, we accept that. I'm available to answer any questions the commission may have. Thank you very much. And that's it. So I was trying to be brief.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Do we have any questions?
If I may, I have available the site plan showing the comparison, which I will share now. It's source.
Actually, it's a. I just need to.
And then maybe while you're bringing that up, if Commissioner McCormick, you had a question?
Yeah, just I did notice it mentions there's gonna be a new diesel generator there. Is that for power outage, I'm assuming, or what's the purpose of the?
Yes, absolutely. That's for emergency circumstances. It's tested once a month for 20 minutes. A noise study was provided, so it was included in the 2020 version, but it's for emergencies to be able to back up for literally 2 weeks. So hopefully that emergency, is solved by that time and they have the ability to come back on power, but that's what it's for, to keep continuous service for the emergencies service of first responders that I talked to you about.
Great. And another question, which isn't condition of approval, but I'm just kind of curious what now that this is finally getting, moving forward after all this time, is there going to be implemented fairly quickly, or it's the
I am not Verizon. I don't get to answer that. I'm frustrated by this. As I said, I am thankful that I've only been working for Ridge Communications for a year, so I'm not responsible for anything that occurred before this. As I said, I am embarrassed by that we have to come back before this body and take your time up 3 times to get it right. But yes, the answer is the goal is to get it done by first quarter of 24.
okay. Thank you.
Vice Chair Radnich?
I do have a question about the 38 feet, 8 inches, but can staff first show us the location from a couple years ago
Yes.
versus tonight's location?
Yep. So this is the plan as currently proposed. The existing tower is at the top here and proposed monopole is right in the center of the image. These were the plans from 3 years ago. Again, the existing tower is here at the top and the monopole was proposed to the east of it. And so that's why in the photo simulations, it appears the photo simulations viewed from the north and from the west, it appeared to be left of the existing tower instead of right and south.
Okay. Can you say, I'm not following that. So right now, what we're seeing is
The old one.
the old one was to the east of the existing tower. Tonight's is to the south of the existing tower.
Exactly.
Okay, so one question I do have for the applicant is, part of the comments and discussion last time when we saw this item was concern for the neighbor roughly to the west. So I'm reading here that it says that there's a 50-foot setback and that existing communication tower is 42 feet from the west property line. And the proposed will be located slightly closer at 38. So last time then, just maybe people can help me with my logic here. Last time the pole wasn't encroaching into that 50-foot setback on the western neighbor.
No, it was.
So then that's what I'm not following in the drawings.
May I respond?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Yeah, please. Thank
The
you.
last time it was 42 feet, 11 inches. So it was encroaching by not 7 feet, 1 inch. And here we are increasing the encroachment by an extra 2 feet. But by also moving it, we are also getting greater cover so that that neighbor is actually getting greater protection from visually seeing the tower than they were before. That's number one. Number two, the report that we provided to you, which is the requirement that it's called a JX report that shows what the RF emissions are. The RF emissions are well within the safety requirements for 24-hour exposure, which literally means it's as safe as anything can be under the FCC. So by moving it has not changed that at all.
Okay, so the 42 feet is from the existing tower,
That's correct.
the 42 feet, 11 inches. And the tower that we saw, I'm just going to say 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, that we
Mhm.
approved,
Mhm.
how far was that from the western neighbor or from the 50-foot setback? Sorry, and I know you explained, it's not clicking for me.
Approximately 95 feet.
95, the tower part is.
So the tower went from 95 feet away to now 38 feet away?
Yes, but in the previous approval, this application was for a second tower to be added. And this current application is to remove the existing tower and install a new monopole.
And that
essentially
existing tower.
replacing it.
sorry.
But wasn't it to have the second one was being added, but the first wasn't going to be removed, but they were going to be using the second one, correct?
That was the original application 3 years ago that was
Yeah.
submitted. I believe when it was approved in 2020, a condition placed by the planning commission was to explore whether the first existing tower could be removed as part of this construction. So that's why the applicant in this application is proposing to remove the existing tower and
Transfer
construct a
over
new one.
what's on that tower to the new.
Okay, and so given the fact that it is significantly closer to the neighbor, I assume people were notified, neighbors were notified, and no comments were received from those neighbors?
Yes, actually, 2 sets of notice of public hearing were sent out. The first was only mistakenly on my part sent out to a 300-foot radius of the property, and a corrected notice was sent out within a 500-foot radius of the property, as is standard in the low density district.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks, Chair.
Right, any other questions? I think I have, just on the cabinets, so I think I read that in the time that's come, the mechanical units are being upgraded to newer something, I think. I'm not a wireless expert. And then because of that, there's more cabinets. Was that why there are more? And the cabinets are on the ground, right, behind the wall?
Cabinets are behind the ground. The cabinets are meant for the co-location of removing the other tower, so that for the use of the equipment that's on that other tower
Okay.
will be put into those cabinets. So there's no really increase in cabinets that Verizon has added. The increase is there's actually one that's left that is not being put in, will not be put in, and will be put in the future if it's ever needed.
Mhm.
And the other one is for the use by the new tower that's being eliminated.
Okay. Thank you. One other question. If another telecom company do these have the capacity to for another telecom company to piggyback on, so they don't have to put another pole up next to it, or how does that work?
The answer is that we are required to build it so that you have the ability to do 2 co-locations on the tower. That's the requirement. I think it's more of a recommendation than it is a requirement, but we all know co-locations are preferred by municipalities. And the issue is not, the answer is we're moving over the one, so that takes up the one space. There is another space. It would be at a lower, they call it rad center, which means where the antennas would be aimed. So whether or not that works for another co-locator, I can't answer that for you. And they would have to make that decision themselves. And then the second thing is that the equipment that's there has, other than the one cabinet that I've told you has been held in reserve for that future. If that's not enough, then they'd have to modify the ground equipment and have to come back to you to make that change.
Okay. I don't have any more questions, so thank you very much. I think we're just.
Thank you. I'm gonna go sit back here and, oh, wait.
Okay, now we should open it to public comments, since I did it too early last time.
Chair, there are no members of the public in the audience in the room or watching on the Zoom webinar.
I guess we need to open the windows all the way to really bring them in here, but we'll get them. Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the planning commission. Any comments from planning commissioners? All right, if not, we can have a motion. Please. Anyone?
All right, motion. It was up there.
It should be coming back.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
It's,
All right, I make a motion that I move that the plan commission, we find the project exempt from CEQA and adopt PC resolution 2023-08, approving the project subject to conditions of attachment 2 in the staff report. With the added condition, as we discussed, to provide the updated photo simulations for the final review and approval by staff.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, 0. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Us too. All right, thank you. I think that is it for public business. Let me get back to that page real quick, make sure public, yep. Okay, so we are now at other business. Park volunteer for Friday. That's not this Friday, next Friday.
I'm out of town.
I might, hold on. Give me a sec. I think I can. Give me 1 second. Come on. 18. Yeah, I think I can do that. 9 o'clock. Ooh. I can't.
That's okay. We will inquire with the other 3 commissioners to see if we can get a volunteer. So
And I could at 10. I know it's 10:30. So if you can't, I can, if we can work a little around it. That one's kind of little ability to move a little, right?
it
Yeah.
has flexibility, yes. So you will inquire with the other commissioners. If none are available, you could do 10 a.m.
Right. I have 9 to 10. I've got a meeting, but then I'm free.
Sounds great. We'll let you know.
Great. All right. Then we have commissioners' reports. Any commissioners have anything to report on? Planning director's report?
I have nothing for you this evening.
All right. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. There we go.
Thanks
Thank
very much.
you.